So we're going to start today with a bit of an icebreaker just to see who's tuning in. We have a couple of questions that you can answer through the chat, whether you're graduating soon, if you've graduated and are currently looking for a job that you'll love, if you're early in your career and looking for options and considering consulting, or if you're just somebody who is interested in switching career paths. So you can answer in the Q&A function, which will be at the bottom right of your screen. Okay, so it looks like most of our attendees are in the B or C category. So hopefully this webinar will give you some insight into the consulting industry and answer any questions. So I'll introduce myself first, and then my colleagues will introduce themselves after. So I'm Adrian Track. I work as an environmental scientist in the site assessment and remediation department at Hemera. I started my consulting career at Hemera just over 4 years ago and am currently an intermediate environmental scientist. I went to school for environmental science and specialized in ecology at University of Waterloo. But after completing a few co-op terms, I ended up with more experience in hydrogeology, and that's how I ended up in contaminated sites. I started at Hemera in 2016 in our Ontario office and just transferred to BC last year, and have primarily worked on projects in oil and gas and land development, doing subsurface investigations and remediations. And I've also done a lot of phase ones and write reports and do data management. I am currently working on obtaining my professional agrology designation. And I will let Andy take over.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Andy Bannon. I'm a senior project manager with Hemera. I've been with Hemera for over 13 years, and my first 12 years I spent with Hemera was in our BC region, based out of Burnaby. And in 2019, I transitioned to our Ontario region. So Adrian and I kind of swapped, you could say, and then I came here. I did my undergrad at the University of Waterloo in environmental and civil engineering and was part of their co-op program there. So it was good. I was able to get a few different job placements, kind of sort out what I was interested in and areas maybe where I did not want to pursue a career. So that kind of helped me get on my consulting path. But the work I primarily do is site investigation and remediation work, working with a lot of private sector and government clients. And I also manage a team here in Ontario and do project management and client management as well. So I'm looking forward to talking to everyone today and hopefully sharing some knowledge that will help everyone on their career path. So I'm going to pass it over to Daniel and we'll keep this rolling.
Thank you, Andy. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Devlin. I am a project coordinator working in Hemera's environmental planning and ecology line of business. I have been working at Hemera for Approximately a year and a half since March 2019. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in zoology from Liverpool John Moores University in England. I am originally from Ireland, and I have been living in Canada for the last 5.5 years. Before Hemera, I worked at the Vancouver Aquarium and Oceanwise, doing a number of different roles, which definitely helped me progress my career into consulting, which I'll probably talk about a little bit later. I'll pass it on to Deanna. Thanks.
Thanks, Danielle. Good morning, everybody. My name is Deanna Higginson, and I'm a technical leader in our human environment line of business. A lot of people wonder, what is the human environment line of business? So just to share a little bit about the work that we do, essentially, we help our clients better understand the communities and the social landscape around in which their projects and interests are situated. And so the services that we offer within our line are quite broad and include everything from Indigenous engagement, non-Indigenous engagement, or public engagement to socioeconomic studies. And the area that I kind of lead and focus in and are very passionate and excited to work in is with Indigenous traditional knowledge and use. And so I'll speak a little bit about that later, but just to give you a little bit more insight to myself, I've been in consulting for just over 10 years, with Hemera for just approximately 6 years. Prior to that, I have a Bachelor of Science in Ecology and Environmental Biology. And then when I went back to do my graduate studies is where I took a leap of faith and, kind of went and entered the interdisciplinary world and started working with Indigenous communities and really found my passion of, focusing on those linkages between science and community. And I had the great fortune since then of working with many Indigenous nations and learning from them and their Indigenous knowledge holders. So a little bit about me. I think that wraps up our introductions. I hope you all have a little bit of insight into all of us. And today we are going to speak to you about a day in the life of, and we thought that it would be an interesting way to kind of present this subject was by kind of walking through the different stages in which people may find themselves in their career. So we thought I'll first speak about somebody that's considering a career in consulting or quite new in their career. And then Adrian will speak about someone who's getting started as a new consultant and maybe could benefit for some tricks and insight into that and how to maximize that stage of their career. And then Andy and Daniel will finish us off by sharing about successful consultants, what can help you stand out and maximize opportunities for progress, as well as what is consulting like, just to give you a better idea about what that a day-to-day job is like. So hopefully that will, appeal to all of you and provide something valuable for all of you to take away. So really appreciate your time and hope that you can find some value in sharing this time with us. So without further ado, so if you're considering a career in consulting, you may be looking for jobs on different sites or word of mouth. And one of the things that's a little bit challenging about entering consulting, I think, is that every consulting company has different levels or terms that they use to identify the different positions that are available. And so what one company may call a senior role, another might call an intermediate role. And so those terms really aren't necessarily standardized. So something to keep an eye out for is what the requirements are, or kind of the different technical skills that they're looking for a position. As in consulting, we're always looking for great people. And so I would encourage you, if you see a posting for a company that you may be interested in, and there's anything at all in there that you can maybe relate to give it a go, because we're always looking for great people. And maybe even if you're not a fit for that specific position, you may be a great fit for another position that's not being posted. Because in consulting, we're really influenced by the projects that we're expecting and the clients that we're working. And sometimes we may have line of sight to an upcoming opportunity. And so it helps to have that understanding of who may be available to help support us in successfully delivering that opportunity. So keep your eye out for that. With regards to advancing your career path, like I said, don't be afraid to go for that. Even if you think, senior sounds like a more senior position than maybe the role that you're currently in, look at those requirements. There may be something in there that you can relate to and demonstrate. And like I said, and whether you're fit for that job or not, it's a way to get your foot in the door. Once you've got your foot in the door, being a higher performer means faster progression. And so what we mean by that is there's no specific time length that a person may stay in a specific position. So you may be able to proceed faster and be promoted quicker if you're considered to be a high performer. And really, in my opinion, what a high performer is someone that can demonstrate their ability to deliver at that level. And so there's often specific skill sets that are identified, but it's always a little bit more than that. So really, consulting is about delivering solutions for our clients. And if you're somebody that enjoys a challenge, it can be successful working independently or collaboratively, and is able to see the value in providing a solution, whether that be something small, like always providing written documents with no spelling errors. That's a solution for somebody because you're saving somebody who's managing you or reviewing your work the time to go back to you and make those small edits. Or whether it's something larger than that, like writing a whole report, that's providing a solution. So whatever position you start at, I would just say lean into it, do your best, and to distinguish yourself as a high performer. Actions speak louder than words. So what I would like to share about this is that when you submit your CV or a cover letter, it's great to say you are a great writer, but what's even better is if you get an interview is to offer a writing sample so we can actually see what you're capable of doing. Or for example, if you say you're detail oriented, make sure that you've proofread your CV and your cover letter and there's no spelling errors, because that would demonstrate your ability to be detail oriented. So I'd challenge you when applying for jobs and having the opportunity to interview for positions to pay attention to those technical requirements, but also those non-technical requirements as well, those interpersonal skills, which also could be very valuable to us in consulting as we work daily with our clients and our project teams. And lastly is a little bit about follow your passion. In consulting, doing good work, I always say brings more good work. And, the more you enjoy the work that you do, I think it's just natural that the better you're going to do it. And it's contagious. People want to work with people who enjoy what they're doing and kind of enthuse that with their energy. So just a quick personal story is, when I had the fortune of doing my graduate studies and really found my passion focused on Indigenous knowledge and use. And when I came to consulting and into the human environment, that actually wasn't a service area that we were offering, but there were opportunities, and I identified opportunities where maybe we could add value related to that offering, and or develop relationships with clients where we could propose doing some work in that area. And slowly over time, we've been able to develop that service offering to something more and more exciting and grow the opportunity. So following your passion, don't be limited by what you see, have a vision of what maybe you'd like to achieve and encourage you to go after that. So good luck. And with that, I'll pass it over to Adrian.
Hi, so I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks just starting out as a consultant that I learned and would like to convey to you guys. So my first point is taking a holistic approach to your work. So in site assessment and in EPE, field skills are super important. So try to get as much field experience as you can in a variety of settings and on different types of projects. But it's equally important to also work on office skills like reporting, technical writing, data management, because seeing a project from its initial to end stages is what makes you a well-rounded and better consultant. Another thing is to practice problem solving and coming up with solutions on your own rather than just highlighting problems that you might see. And as part of that, you want to consider your task and your role as part of a bigger picture. So what are you contributing to the project and how is that tying in with everything else? My second point is understand the why. So why are you doing this project? So that could be what's the client's end goal and objective and how are we helping them meet it? Understanding your role, again, in achieving those objectives. So be it in the field or in the office, what are you contributing to this program? And then understanding the methodology and the reasoning. behind the work program. So this means learning the regs really well and understanding, the administrative guidances and technical guidances and protocols that you use in your projects. So a good idea is to keep track of the projects you do and what regs are used in each one. And, don't be afraid to talk to your project managers when you're discussing work plans and learn more about the technical approaches being taken, and just ask questions. And, eagerness to learn is always a good attribute. And my last point is mentorship. So consulting is really fast paced. That's kind of what makes it so fun, but it can be a lot to take on. So, you're surrounded by people with a wealth of knowledge, and people are always willing to help. So I would recommend finding someone you're really comfortable with and asking them if they'd like to be your mentor, and you can go to them with technical and professional questions, and I'm sure they'd be happy to give you advice. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, I'll hop in here. It'll be tough to go after Deanna and Adrian, but I'll do my best here. So I'm going to give a little, I guess, different approach to things, just kind of moving towards already in an established role. And I'm not sure how many people this would apply to, but even no matter what stage of a career or role you're in, you always want to be looking for things to help you stand out or maximize any opportunities that may be out there for you. So I just want to discuss a few main points that I think really differentiate someone and can actually put them in a better position to move forward in their career. The first one is strong communication. And I think, at a junior level, some people might think that, okay, well, I don't get much exposure to clients and I can't really display my communication skills in a certain way. But the best way to do that, and Deanna already touched on this, is really showing your attention to detail. And no matter what it is, an email, a memo, just verbal communication within your internal project team to really showcase your skills, and then that just kind of elevates, I guess, people's impressions of how you can actually deliver work and are able to move things forward. So there's that kind of internal piece there. And then with external clients, once you progress a bit in your career, then it's the ability to understand what their problems are and how you can support them, rather than having, I guess, a preconceived notion on, okay, we have this service and you must need it. It's more understanding what they're all about, looking at every project or site or instance in a very unique way. And that's one thing that Hemera has that's a differentiator. We don't just have this template approach for each thing and apply it to every project. We have very knowledgeable people and technical staff that can look at the problems and figure out the best way to sort them out in the most cost-effective and time-efficient manner. So that's one thing that Hemera has a lot of pride in, and how we communicate and our responsiveness to our internal and external clients. Next, I want to talk about problem solving. Adrian and Deanna already touched on this already. It's essentially what our job is. Our clients will come to us to solve their problems. And a big part of problem solving is having all the tools in the toolbox to do that. So we're very fortunate at Hemera to have environmental planning and ecology group, site assessment and remediation group, and a human environment, which can all come together and provide different services to solve those problems. And then within each of those groups, we have other supporting groups, our geomatics and our corporate group, marketing, other groups that can support, as well as a really strong subcontracting and sub-consulting network. So we're able to have a diverse supporting network to solve people's problems, rather than say, okay, this is out of our realm of expertise and this is what we do, you'll have to go elsewhere. We're to be a standout and maximize opportunities, you need to look at what problems may come your way and have solutions for them that you can work with and collaborate with other people to move those forward. And then the last one is more of a well-rounded skill set. So typically in academia, it more focuses on your technical skills that you can bring to the real world to solve problems. One thing that can really help you stand out or maximize your opportunities is more the management side of things, how you're able to communicate with people, manage a team versus managing a project or managing clients. It's kind of a few different skill sets there that do develop over time, but having a really good blend of technical and those softer skills can really propel you forward in your career and help you to reach whatever career path you're looking for. So with that, I will pass it on to Daniel, who is going to tell you, about an average or an exciting day in consulting. So I'll pass it off to you.
Thanks, Andy. Daniel speaking here. Yeah, every day is an exciting day in consulting. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about what consulting is like and what it's like to be a consultant. I know that before I got into consulting and I was trying to get a consulting job, this word of consulting was like kind of far out, and I didn't really understand what it meant. And so I want to touch a little bit on that and give you guys some information. So consulting is it's fast paced and it's dynamic. It's actually one of the aspects of consulting that I enjoy the most. So no 2 days are the same. And as Andy mentioned there, it is pretty exciting. So when you're working on interesting projects, there are always new problems to be solved and tasks to be complete day in, day out. And if you guys spend some time on the Hemera website, you'll be able to look through the list of projects that our Hemera team work on. So you can see that we have a really diverse portfolio of projects. We kind of, our team aren't shoehorned into one area or another. We were able to expand and go into different areas and different sectors and work in different projects, which is really cool. And that also means that it keeps our team on their toes. It means that there's new problems to be solved, new tasks to be completed, new clients to interact with. So that's what adds to the fast-paced aspect of consulting. Another thing I wanted to touch upon is that consulting is client focused. So we as Andy and Adrian and Deanna, I think, mentioned before, and I think it's worth underlining again, is that our clients present us with problems. That's the reason why they hire us on to do their project, or whatever that problem may be. We are there to provide a solution to those problems. So when we provide a solution and we deliver results, we are ensuring that we build our client's business and we also build our own business. No two problems are the same, and we can come across different problems every day, and we might not know the solution to those problems straight away, but we have a great team here that can come together and come up with a solution. And then what that does is that builds our technical expertise, so that when we come across that problem in the future again, we can easily solve it. And like I said, we have a multidisciplinary team here at Hemera, so there's usually not a problem that we cannot solve. And you can see even for the hosts that we have here on the webinar today, we have Andy and Adrian, who work in site assessment and remediation. We have Deanna, who works in the human environment, and myself, who works in environmental planning and ecology. So there you have 4 people who, there's not many problems that our clients can present to us that we can't figure out a way to resolve them. And one of the values that I love about Hemera is the integrity of our team and the technical excellence that we possess. So we can come up with ingenious solutions to these problems. We can find a better way, and then that's kind of one of our mottos within Hemera. It's not just about finding any solution; it's about finding the best solution to that problem, finding a better way, a more efficient way to solve those problems. And we always trust the science. So that's underlined with everything. Always trust the science. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a snapshot about what my life as a consultant looks like. So I am currently working on the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 project. And for those of you who don't know, it's a proposed new container terminal in Roberts Bank in Delta, British Columbia. So this is a pretty large and lengthy project. Some of our Hemera teams have been working on this project solely for the last 10 years. So the Hemera team, we completed the biophysical portion of the environmental assessment and submitted the environmental impact statement in 2015. And then the project went through a federal environmental review by an independent review panel under the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act 2012 over the summer of 2019. So not many projects go through such an in-depth and lengthy environmental review. So this was a pretty awesome experience to be part of this process so early on in my career. I noted that I just started at Hemera in March 2019. So this is kind of what I've been doing for the last year and a half. And so to be involved in that process so early on is really awesome. So I feel very lucky to have done so. And I wanted to highlight this project because my life as a consultant is probably much different than Adrian, Andy, and Deanna's in the sense that this is the only project I work on. The portfolio of projects that a consultant usually works on is much larger and much more diverse. The project that I'm working on, RBT2, is so large that it demands our Hemera team work on it full time because there are so many aspects to work on it and so many different work streams to handle. So that's how my day as a consultant or my life as a consultant differs slightly from the rest of the group. And within the project, I coordinate several different work streams, including our fieldwork programs. And so a couple of the guys here mentioned that some of their studies through university helped progress their career. And when I was in university and I was doing my undergraduate degree, I decided that I would try and do as many different tasks related to fieldwork as I could. So I spent some time in Costa Rica doing some field research. I spent some time in Greece doing research on loggerhead sea turtles. And so this has really helped progress my career in consulting because when the opportunity came up to be the fieldwork coordinator for this project, I was able to step into that role. So within the RBT2 project, we are continuously collecting biophysical data at Roberts Bank, and that will help inform the project's follow-up programs. So our follow-up programs for the project allow us to collect pre-construction baseline data, and this will allow us to compare this data to construction and post-construction periods to ensure that there's no significant changes in the biophysical portions of Roberts Bank. So to give you an example of what that kind of looks like for me this year, starting in around March time of 2020, we started studies on Ulukan, juvenile salmon, juvenile Dungeness crab, great blue heron, barnacles, diving birds, and salinity. So a lot of fieldwork programs going on at the moment. And next year, we're probably going to add another 6 or 7 fieldwork programs to that portfolio. So really busy, and it sort of underlines Adrian's point to if you get the opportunity to get out there in the field, take it and do it because it's really awesome experience, and it helps with your progression in consulting. And another difference that I wanted to highlight here at the end is that with RBT2, pre-COVID, I worked almost entirely out of the client's project office. So we worked alongside the client and directly facing the client with other consultancies because it's not just the Hemera team that are providing consultancy tasks to the client. It's there are multiple other consultancies because this project is so big. So working alongside the client, it definitely has its challenges and its perks. But I believe that that definitely adds to the dynamism of the job, and it helps keep it interesting. And when you're working directly with the client every day, they're always presenting you with new tasks, and you're able to come up with new solutions and working with a very close knit team in front of the client. So that is it from me, and I believe that has wrapped up the individual portion of our webinar. So We're going to take a little bit of time here for a question and answer section. So if you folks have any questions, you can submit it into the Q&A panel, I think to the right of your screen. Questions can remain anonymous if you so wish. And if you have any questions specifically for any of the presenters, Adrian, Andy, Deanna, or myself, you can ask us questions directly, and we can definitely try and answer those. And if we run out of time today, which we probably won't, but if we do, then we can definitely follow up with you folks on LinkedIn or other social media channels to get you guys an answer. So I'll give you a minute or two to get those questions in.
Yeah, Sarah, do you know if we have any questions, or should we just follow on the Q&A box?
I have a question. Maybe I can get the questions flowing for everybody. Is maybe Adrian, Andy, and Daniel, you could share a little bit of what type of backgrounds people have on your teams, or if, to help people understand, which line of business may be best suited to them if they're not sure already.
I can hop in there first. So on my team, I have a couple environmental scientists that, so they have an undergrad in environmental science, Adrian, and then also engineering and geology backgrounds, mostly is what I see on my team. But it really, it kind of helps you on the right, or I guess on the path to site assessment and contaminated sites work. But there's also a bunch of different backgrounds you can have to do this type of work. And I mean, those are just the types of education that we currently have on my team, but a variety of backgrounds to do site assessment work. Also, some people have a college diploma for field sampling, which can be applied more so to environmental planning and ecology or site assessment work.
I'm just going to chime in for a little bit. Yeah, so what Andy said is correct. I know that there are some colleagues who might have done an undergrad bachelor's degree in maybe geography, but then went on to do, as Andy said, like a more technical college program, which I think ranged from 1 to 2 years, more streamlined to either a contaminated sites role or an ecology environmental planning role.
So it looks like we do have a few questions rolling in here. Just gonna take a peek here. So one question is, how should I build my skill set as a new graduate looking to getting into consulting? And do you have any specific advice for new graduates?
I can answer this one, Andy, if you'd like, or I can start off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because it feels like it was so recent, even though it was 4 years ago. So I would say getting field experience is key, and you can achieve that through volunteering. If you are looking, I guess you can look for internship roles that are more field-based, depending where you are. When I was in Ontario, there were conservation authorities that would hire field-based internships. I also did some stewardship with the City of Toronto, which was just getting out and taking care of your local community with other like-minded people. This included like invasive species removal and water quality monitoring and pollinator monitoring, and it was really fun. You get to meet people and network, and you're doing something good for community, and you can put this on your resume. And my advice for new graduates is don't just apply for jobs online. You could be one of many other candidates in a pile. So you have to do something to really stand out, differentiate yourself. You know, it's kind of hard right now with COVID, but when I was looking for a job, and it took a while, even with co-op, I went to networking events that were kind of geared towards the industry. I made business cards, and it can be daunting to kind of put yourself out there, but you know, self-starting and taking initiative and autonomy are all skills that are crucial in consulting. And I actually applied to Amera a few times before I ended up getting a job here. It culminated in me emailing one of my former colleagues in Ontario and asking if he'd like to chat about his experience in consulting. And so I asked for an informational interview, even though I had already applied to Amera. And he was very open to it. I went to the office, we had a great chat, and then he told me I should apply to this position if I was interested. And I already had. And then I got an interview like a couple of days later, and here we are. So don't just go the easy route. You know, you have to put a little bit more work into it. And also, if you're asking to add somebody on LinkedIn, send them a nice message, you know, giving a little bit of an introduction about yourself. Otherwise, you're just somebody who's trying to access someone's network and they don't know who you are, and it's not very effective in my experience. So really personalize something, and people are more than willing to help in my experience. And the worst that somebody could say is no. So yeah, good luck.
Maybe I'll just add to that, Adrian, is I'd say for new graduates or new consultants is don't say no. You know, sometimes when you come to a role, someone say, can you do some data entry or something that's quite simplistic, you know, rather than thinking about like that's an opportunity that's below you, lean into that and do a really amazing job and wow the person that asked you to do that. And they'll come to you with more and more challenges. So that'll just be an opportunity to demonstrate your skills and abilities and will lead to more skills opportunities for you. So as a consultant, you know, you're going to be continually asked to do different tasks or be involved in different ways. And so I just encourage you to be slow to say no and be eager to learn. No one knows everything. So that's why we have a great team, so we can learn from one another and reach out for help or direction when needed. But that being said, don't be shy to give it a go as well. So that's what I would share as my piece of advice. Daniel or Andy, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just echo what Adrian said. Her progression into Hamera and into consulting was pretty similar to mine, and I think it took me 18 months in total to get a consulting gig, and it was long and it was hard, and I felt like giving up a lot of the times. But that's kind of what I wanted to underline with everyone on the call here. Don't give up. If this is something that you really want to do, persevere and push through, and you will find a way to get in there. And kind of what worked for me whenever I was getting into consulting was that networking aspect that I mentioned before. That I'm originally from Ireland, so. Being here on the West Coast, I don't know a lot of people, and especially people within the industry that I wanted to work in. So it took a lot of me getting out, meeting other people, getting my name out there, making connections, and in sort of pre-COVID time, that was a lot easier. I would sort of had a list of different consultancies in Vancouver that I would like to work for, and I kind of just landed at their office door and tried to meet with people and get out with coffee with people, and that might be a little bit more difficult in these times, but you can still achieve these, right? We have, social media accounts like LinkedIn, and you can definitely do these things, and you can definitely have Zoom calls and Skype calls with folks, and like Adrian said, a lot of people who work in consulting, they had to do this to get into consulting. They had to walk this path. So most people are pretty willing to pay that forward. And I know myself, I'm very willing to meet with anybody who wants to get into consulting and try and share my experiences and try and give some advice and hopefully pass on the good advice to folks so they can get themselves in through the door as well. And so I actually I just picked on the Q&A there, and I have a question directed to myself. And thank you for that question. So the question was, can you give me an example of a problem that you would solve on your day-to-day? So I do have a decent example of this, and it started off as a day-to-day problem, and now it's turned into sort of a larger problem with sort of a 6-month solution, and it's tied into the coronavirus. So with some of our fieldwork activities, we involve local Indigenous groups in fieldwork activities. So whether that be folks from different Indigenous groups, they come out and they observe our biologists collecting data, or they kind of learn on the job with them, or they actually replace some of our biologists for different programs, whatever it may be. Usually we have them involved in our fieldwork programs. Obviously, starting in March this year, a lot of local Indigenous groups were restricting their movements within their community, so they were unable to send anybody from their community out to the field with our Hamera team to collect the data and to perform those fieldwork activities. So that was a problem for our client, because we usually have Indigenous participation, and it's a really key part of our project to involve local Indigenous groups and make sure that their voice is heard on our projects, and make sure that if they have any problems, that we provide them a solution. So not having Indigenous participation in our fieldwork programs was a really big problem, and our Hamera team came up with a really ingenious solution. So what we decided to do was video all of our work activities. So what that involved was someone from the Hamera team going out to the field with our biologists. We would have a GoPro. We would take lots of videos and give a snapshot of the day. So we would take a video of our pre-start health and safety meeting where we talked about our site hazards and mitigation. We would take a video of our mobilization, getting all our field equipment ready and good to go. We would take videos of the actual data collection and taking in that data. For example, with the juvenile salmon program, we had a team out there with a sort of 20-meter long by 2-meter deep beach seine net. So they were doing beach seining and collecting juvenile salmon. So bringing all these salmon into shore, taking them out of a bucket and taking their lengths and weights, and then our demobilization at the end of the day. And what our Hamera team did then was we stitched all those videos together, and we presented a story and an overview of what the fieldwork was like, and then we presented it to the Indigenous groups, so they felt that they were still involved in the program, and then they could also comment back on the videos and say, oh, why are you guys doing this, or can you guys do this a little bit different next time, and we were able to incorporate those. So that was one of the problems that came up at the beginning, has turned into a year-long solution, and we now provide the solution to all of our fieldwork programs. So I think that's up from me. Is there any other questions in the Q&A?
I just got a great question here from Joanna. Thank you, Joanna. It just shares that says, one of the questions we often get from our students interested in working with Indigenous groups and the environment is, how do you get experience in this area? So it's a really great question. We have a diverse academic educational backgrounds in our group. What some of the tendencies we see, like myself, as ecologist and environmental biologist, I used to have my registered professional biologist as well before I took the turn into the interdisciplinary work. But we also have people with backgrounds in anthropology and sociology, Indigenous studies. So it's quite a diverse background. So that's why I would share, look at the different skills that you have. The people that tend to do really well in our line of business are people who have a really good combination of technical and non-technical skills. So those people who are able to pair very strong communication skills, writing skills, being able to write a technical report, but also being able to write a briefing for a community or for a website is very important. And it's more challenging than you think to be able to write for such different audiences and be able to clearly communicate those key points that we need to communicate for our clients. Another thing is being able to work with people. So not everybody has those soft skills which enable them to work really effectively in a culturally appropriate and respectful manner. So that has a lot to do with it too, is like having those people who are able to go out and work with people. So I guess I would just encourage you, there's not a one size fits all background that tends to do well in human environment, but we'd love to hear from you if you think that your skills or your background would be well suited for the work that we do, and we'd love to go from there. So thanks for the great question.
I'm going to answer one more question. As an ecology major, would you recommend getting an additional college diploma for field sampling? So I don't work in ecology right now. I've done a little bit of work in ecology for Hemera, but that was also my major. I think it depends. If you feel you did a lot of labs and have a decent amount of field experience just from school already, from your university degree, it sounds like, then you should be okay. As I mentioned previously, there are sometimes volunteer positions with more community initiatives, like bio blitzes, where you can practice your field ID skills, or just even doing it for fun and to practice. I practice my birding skills when I can. Going back to school could be a good idea if you feel like there are many gaps in your field experience, but I wouldn't say it's necessary. I think it depends if you think it'll add to your skill set, if you're able to do so financially, but there are other avenues. I considered going back to school and getting a college diploma as well. I ended up not doing that, and it worked out for me, but I mean, I am happy to talk about that more if you'd like to reach out. This is just my personal opinion, so yeah. And someone also asked if there will be a recording available for this webinar, and yes, it will be posted. I'm sure we will send out a message about that, but there will be a recording.
Great. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thanks everyone for joining, and good luck on the search or continuing your consulting career if you're already into it. And as we mentioned a few times, feel free to reach out. We had our emails on the slide there, and this will be available on LinkedIn, I believe, with our other presentations. So feel free to take another look if you need to. And thanks again for taking the time. Wish you the best of luck from our Hemera team here. So we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.